Good evening. My name is Steve Wigginton. I'm the area director for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes here in Greater Louisville. Thank you for joining us for the first ever virtual Sharing the Victory dinner, where we hope this will be the last ever virtual Sharing the Victory dinner. I am much more of a high five you, hug you, shake your hand kind of guy than I am a virtual anything. But at this point, this is the lane that we are given to run in, so we are going to run hard. I brought a football with me here tonight, signed by Colt McCoy. For some of you may not know who Colt McCoy is. He's an NFL quarterback for the New York Giants, played college football at University of Texas, where he was the all-time winningest quarterback in NCAA history. Of all the quarterbacks who've ever played, he won more games in his career than anyone. His senior year, Colt McCoy was playing Alabama in the national championship. In the first half, he goes back to pass, he gets hit, and his arm goes numb, and he can no longer grip a football. So he goes and he watches the game from the sidelines for the rest of the game as Alabama blows out Texas. As Colt McCoy is walking off the field after the game, a reporter comes up to him and puts a microphone in his face. And they ask the question and say, "Colt, what was it like to have to stand on the sidelines and watch your final collegiate game?" And if you Google Colt McCoy National Championship interview, he says something like this. He said, "I never question why things happen because I know that God is in control of my life, and I know that if nothing else, I'm standing on the rock." When he said, "I'm standing on the rock," what did he mean? He clarified that the next day when he said, "I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, and I was reading my Bible the night before the national championship game when I came across a verse, Isaiah chapter 26, verse 4. And it says, 'Trust in the Lord forever, for the Lord is the rock eternal.'" Hebrews 13:8 reads, "Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever." Jesus Christ is the big rock. With Fellowship of Christian Athletes, we have the privilege of being able to go in elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, and colleges all over a 7-county area and let kids and coaches know that Jesus is a foundation that they can stand on. When I started with FCA, there were 2 schools that had Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Because of the generosity of many of you who may be watching tonight, we are now able to take that message into 118 schools all around our area. Most of those 118 schools have a morning FCA huddle where for 20 minutes before school, someone will come in, they'll open a Bible, the kids will pray, sometimes kids will lead a lesson, sometimes they'll use someone off our speaker list, but they always point to Jesus as the big rock. With huddles, sometimes a huddle will have 15, sometimes a morning huddle will have 150 kids, but in 118 schools, that's probably 2,500, 3,000 kids come together and look to God's Word as the rock of their life each week. In addition to morning huddles, we also go to sports teams, and we do team huddles in the afternoon for the teams that are in season. We'll go to the football team, we'll go to the soccer team, we'll go to the basketball team or the baseball team. Because they're student initiated, and because it's before practice or after practice, it's voluntary. Anyone can come because they're coming on their own time. But when they come, they hear about who Jesus is a big rock. Last year, the door was open that we were able to do team huddles for over 300 different sports teams all around the area after practice or before practice. I was talking to a high school football team this past year, and I stood in front of the team and I said, "Hey, if you would be willing to read a chapter or 2 a week in a Bible and underline what sticks out to you and get on a Zoom call with the FCA character coach for 30 minutes a week along with your teammates, come up and see me afterwards and put down your name and your number." And I stood over there, and sometimes you don't know if anybody's going to come to you at all. And I waited for a minute, and this one kid walks over, big, strong kid, walks over, and he writes his name and his number down. He said, "I would love to do this." He goes, "But I don't have a Bible." And I said, "Man, we can take care of that for you." And because he came over, 8 more of his teammates came over, and they put down their name and their number. And after we talked for a minute and they walked off and headed to the locker room, the coach came over to me and he said, man, that first kid that came up and signed his name, I can't believe that he signed his name and his number. If ever there's a kid who needed Jesus, it's him. He said, last year I had to kick him off the team because he just found a way of getting in trouble. Man, I was shocked that he came up there and put his name and his number down. That's a kid who realizes that he needs a rock to stand on. In addition to huddles in the morning, huddles in the afternoon, we also do a lot of camps. We do a middle school team basketball camp where 100 middle school boys come and play basketball and learn about who Jesus is. We do a leadership camp. Last year we took 600 kids to WKU for FCA leadership camp where they competed, but they also were trained in how they could be better leaders for Jesus in their sport, in their school. 2 weeks after leadership camp ends, I get a call from a mom. And she's the mom of a high school volleyball player here in Louisville. And this mom said, Steve, I just want to thank you. She goes, when the buses pulled in the parking lot to drop the kids off after leadership camp, I saw my daughter get off the bus, and before she ever got to the car, I could tell that there was something different about her. And she got in the car, and she couldn't stop talking about the experience that she had at FCA leadership camp. And she said, I've watched her for the past 2 weeks. I've watched in the way that her attitude has changed. I've watched in the way that she respects people, that she has a work ethic now that she didn't have before. And I just want to thank you for giving me a daughter who's infinitely better than the one who got on the bus to go to camp. There's nothing magical about FCA camp. That girl simply found a foundation on a rock that she could base her life off of. Everybody knows that we have issues in our country, we have issues in our city right now, but I believe with all my heart that the lasting solution to those issues is not going to come through a political office. It's not going to come through some decree or law that's passed down. It's going to come when there's a heart change, when people, especially young people, begin to realize that they can't build the foundation of their life on the shifting sands of culture or popular opinion, but the only thing that's worth building their life on is the rock eternal. For those of you who financially support FCA, thank you. Thank you for giving to this ministry, because without you, we would not have near the good news we have around our city without you choosing to be a part. For those of you who are sitting there and maybe you're a little frustrated, a little angry or disillusioned by what's happening all around us, would you prayerfully consider giving to FCA to be a part of the solution, the long-term solution to the problems that we see around us? God bless you, and you keep standing on the rock.